Hi, and welcome to a project demonstration of the Orange Runner, a redesign and rebuild of a website hosting a comic by the same name, written and illustrated by my brother. This website is built using Next.js styled components, Contentful as a CMS, all hosted on Vercel. What I want to do during this project demonstration is talk about how this website, the old website, was redesigned using this illustrated layout to make this, and then talk about why we chose some of those technologies that we did. So to start, I'm really quick just going to run through the website and show all the features that it has. So on the landing page, we have an endless scroll of comics sorted by most recent published date. At the bottom of each comic, we have a share feature that will allow you to share comics to Twitter with some custom link formatting. You can tag the Orange Runner there to be able to interact with him. The native share button that might exist down here if you were to open this on a mobile website doesn't exist in the Chrome browser because it chooses not to render it based on the fact that the Chrome browser doesn't have a native share feature. But if you were to open up this website on a mobile app, you would see the three nodes right here because you can use that native share feature on a mobile application or a mobile device. Keep scrolling, and if we want, we can then go and view each comic on its own page. And when a comic is on its own page, it also has that share feature as well as some buttons down at the bottom. We can see the next comic down here, or we can go and view a random comic if we so choose. We can also search comics here. So if I search running, every comic is probably going to come up as a result. But if I search something a little bit more specific, like say training, we might see a training log by Frank Shorter, and this search feature is going to search the text of each comic as well as the title and subtitle, as well as the keywords that are attached to each comic. Further, we have a collections page where we can view collections determined by Luke and myself using our content management system. Say these are Luke's favorites right here. These are comics, again, sorted by published date, and there's probably about 4 or 5 comics per collection. We can still click on these to view these as individual comics, come down here, share, or view a random comic here. There are 4 collections, but we have the ability to update these collections as we go. This is the About page right here. We can find out more information about the Orange Runner and why this page exists. And the shop will take you to an external shop link. We're still working on building the native in-house shop, but this will take you to the one on the old website for now. And then this will take you to a Patreon link. Some fun stuff here. If you view this on a mobile phone, this page is all responsive as well. So if you drop down this hamburger menu, you'll see that the buttons are a little bit more thumb friendly if you're holding this with your right hand. You click on the home button, that menu is going to pop away, and you'll be able to view these with a nice mobile design layout. Anywhere you are on the page, you can click the logo up here to return back home and scroll through. So that is how the website works. Those are all the features. It's a fairly straightforward website, but it's really cool what's going on behind the scenes. And the reason that this website was rebuilt and redesigned is for a number of reasons. One, we really just wanted it to look better. Luke had this image for a website in his mind that was more something along the lines of this. This doesn't really have the same sidebar layout that he wanted to. He wanted something that looked way more like this, but he wasn't able to put this into actual code to make this happen. So that's where I came in. That's the first problem, is you just wanted a website to look better. But the more technical side of things is that we wanted to be able to build him a website where he could take his mind off the code and he could focus on uploading and publishing content. And that's where the CMS came in. The second technical problem was that we wanted a website that would perform well and have high search engine optimization, and that's where Next.js came in. I'll start with Contentful first. So Luke's content publishing experience is now very straightforward. If we come to the Contentful platform, we'll see that right now we're looking at a collection of collections. This is what we saw on the collections page. If you click on favorites, you can enter a subtitle for each collection, a slug such that we can view a collection on its own. This is collections favorites. And then you can upload, you can add existing comics as you see fit to a new collection. So if I wanted to create a new collection, I would come over here and do add collection, and then I would name it, add a subtitle, and start adding comics. If I say I want to publish a new comic, and I can see what these comics look like here, each comic has a title, a subtitle, a slug, a original published date so that you can publish old comics and have them be in order of original creation date, and then this rich text form, which will render as markdown and then be transformed by a special React library to React components. We can also add keywords that will help the search parameters such that we can search things like training or formula and still see this comic show up. So if I were back here and I wanted to create a new comic, I can go add comic and then add all these features when they eventually load. Add all these parameters. Come on now. there we go. Add all these parameters as we see fit, but I don't want to add one of those right now. So I'll go back to the main website so we can continue talking. So that is the first thing. We created Luke a nice, easy content management system. He doesn't have the worry of having to go in and change the CSS as a design. That's why he has brothers who are web developers. We can go ahead and do that for him. Where does Next.js came in? Why did we move away from WordPress to something that would be a little bit more hands-on code that developers would have to come in and manage? Well, the reason that we did that is because Next.js is a incredible React library a React framework for managing search engine optimization or optimizing search engine optimization, increasing search engine optimization, as well as website performance. And there's a number of different ways that this happens. So all of these features, this website or this page that you see right here, as well as this page, these were all rendered on the server using static site generation. So when we built this website, when I pushed the last pull request up, and this was then built by Vercel, this built the HTML on the server side such that when I send that request to go get this URL, it's going to serve me just straight HTML with very minimal JavaScript, because it was able to take that JavaScript bundle, that React, and build it on the server side. So I'm not being sent a giant JavaScript file that I then have to render on the client side. They're just sending me a big HTML file that I can then, or a nicely sized HTML file that will then just render it this way. Also, these paths here are statically generated, so all the comic slugs are generated on the server side. So if I go to a random one, that is also serving me just as much HTML as possible and as little JavaScript as possible. The only time that we're using server-side generation, meaning that I'm making a request to a server, it's building some HTML on the server side live and then sending that back. So it's not building it at build time, it's building it at request time, is when we do searches here. So if I search for turtles, say, it's going to then go build an HTML page. It didn't find anything, so it's going to redirect me back to the page that I was just on, but maybe I do marathon again because that's one that I know. It's going to send that request and then build that HTML file and send that over for me. So that's great for performance because we're not sending giant JavaScript files across the web. We're just sending HTML, which is far easier for the browser to deal with. You might also notice that we're on the main page. If I scroll really fast, if I scroll fast enough, we're seeing, you might have just seen it. Yeah, there we go. We see a little bit of blurriness happen with the images and some like a shimmer effect. And what's happening there is that Next.js has some really nicely optimized image elements, and those are going to load only when we scroll to them. So really highly optimized images that don't load, if it's an endless scroll, it's not going to load hundreds of images all at once. It's going to wait until we actually need them for it to load. So that's really optimized. Now you may have heard me say at the beginning that we use styled components and wondered, wait, if we're sending JavaScript all the way over with styled components, isn't that going to be rendered on the server side? That's not the case. That's actually also built on the server side and then sent over as just CSS, so that's great too. Now, what we can't really see if we're on the website, but we can see if we come and see two Lighthouse tests run back to back. This is the old website right here. So performance is pretty low, accessibility was low, best practices were low, and search engine optimization were low. But when we look at the new website, since we're just being served those server-side statically generated web pages, that's going to give us great performance because it's really small files that are being sent over the web, and great SEO because we're being sent files that have all the metadata in the head element pre-built in. It's not going to be anything like a React helmet, or React is not going to be the global size of the metadata. We can have individual metadata per page such that Google can come through and crawl this website and pull out all the information that it might need for search queries before we even go and view it on the browser, which is great. So it's very optimized in both performance and search engine optimization, and that's great. So at the end, we have a very simple website that is highly optimized from a developer and publisher perspective, as well as a search engine optimization and performance perspective, and it works on phones. That's enough for me. Thank you for checking out this demo. Go check out more Orange Runner content. Peace.